as we would give 5 minutes to other guests to join in. So bear with us. Thank you so much. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the unveiling of the eagerly awaited report that was conducted in 2022, who leads the newsroom and the news. Today it marks a collective effort to shed light on these vital matters and pave the way for journalism landscape and is more diverse and inclusive. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brenda Akpata and I'll be your moderator for today. Good morning. So we're going to have like some ground rules for this conversation. Please, if you're not speaking, would please request that you mute your microphone. And if you're asked to speak, please, you kindly unmute yourself to speak. Thank you so much. And I promise you that you're going to have a very memorable experience. And you're actually also going to go back home with something very, very useful. Thank you so much, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, for us to commence this session today, we'd like to call on the program officer, who is no other person than Samson Ademola. Samson, please, you have the floor. Thank you so much. Hello, Samson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Brenda. So mine is to welcome everyone for being part of the public presentation of this report. That's our report on who leads the newsroom and the news. Of course, it's a report that it's in itself, it's a country-specific effort. And I would say it's a build-up on our research in 2017. And that research shows that just at the entry level and the mid-level career in media, you find more women at those levels, and as you move towards the top of the totem pole, you find them reducing, especially at the C-suite level. Of course, that is important to us as an organization. It's important to the extent that we could quickly point at that, amongst other issues, to be at the very controlling ends of what impacts on the number of stories we have around girls and women issues in the country. Of course, our Report Women project is one that has sought to look at how the issues affecting girls and women are being reported in the media. And one of the reasons why, one of the things that we have identified amongst other issues is that is because we don't have more women at the C-suite level who are participating, and because participation in issues that concerns them directly would also influence what goes on in their reportage, not just about the quantum, but the quality of reports about them, and not just about the quality, but also how women are being portrayed. And so this report, we believe, is a timely one. It's going to not just help the media to reflect on itself, on its gender inclusivity, on the way it allots roles to women in the industry, but it will also help policymakers. It will help schools of journalism when it's producing, when they are producing reporters, when they are producing people in the industry, they would also be more conscious of how they can also imbue elements of leadership into them. And just to again mention that the WSCIJ is excited, and we are happy to have you, hoping that by the time this report is out in a few hours, when it's been publicly presented, that we all would engage it and allow it gain traction out there, such that people, policy makers, industry experts, media managers, journalists alike can make do with its provisions and recommendations. I want to welcome everyone to this public presentation event again. Have a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Samson Ademola. Thank you so much. That was really an amazing presentation, welcoming. We look forward to having the reports, especially with the fact that we are all pushing the agenda for gender equality. We are all pushing the SDG 2023 agenda. We need to also ensure that women are well represented at all levels, not just as reporters, but also as leaders in respective, leadership in the media. So thank you for that presentation. Just to have a rundown of the agenda for everyone, we just had a welcome address by the program officer of the center. We'll also be having goodwill messages from our funders. We'll have a representative from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We're also going to have a book review by Dr. Abba, who is the program director for Daily Trust Foundation. And of course, we'll be having a lot of goodwill messages from all our contributors. We have amazing guests who are with us today, representatives of the media houses. And of course, we're also going to, have open floor conversation. We are going to be hearing from our very, very amazing CEO. We are talking about the CEO, Motunrayo Alaka. We'd like to also hear from her. We are going to have open conversation where everyone here would, share their views and make their contributions. So it's going to be really an amazing conversation. Please stay tuned as we go through this conversation. So at this point, would like to, I don't know if it's here, would like to delightfully invite Dickens Olewe. Dickens Olewe is a program officer at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and is here to deliver a goodwill message for us. Thank you so much and welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, and hello from Nairobi. I hope you're all doing well. So I think my first comments is just, first of all, congratulations to the Wallace Center for Investigative Journalism. This is another testament of the incredible work that you do. The issue about women leadership in newsrooms and representation of women, and the reporting of what media organizations and I think society at large labels as women issues has been, unfortunately, been an area where media organizations especially have struggled, and several factors have contributed to that. And one of them, obviously, through this research, it just kind of, again, makes the case for why representation matters. Media organizations, or rather journalism as an industry, has to do a better job to look like the society that it covers. And therefore representation of women journalists, and also providing opportunities for them to be the best that they are in the newsrooms, and to cover these stories in ways in which they know how, is what media organizations should be doing. So I kind of hope that this report will be one that definitely will frame the conversation about not just about the problem, but also provide the pathway through which media organizations in Nigeria and beyond can actually look at how to course correct, kind of find ways in which women leaders can rise through the ranks. Women journalists can feel can feel that they can be the best that they want to be in newsrooms. So again, congratulations, and I'm looking forward to listen to other contributions in the next hour or so.
Thank you so much, and a very big thank you to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for all the support over the years. Thank you so much. So in this session, we'd like to call on Dr. Abba, who would be taking us through a book report review. Dr. Abba is a program director of Daily Trust Foundation, where he spearheads initiatives aimed at empowering journalists and providing essential humanitarian services. He has the task today of reviewing this report. Thank you so much, Dr. Abba. Please unmute yourself and speak to us. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I want to thank Willie Shoyinka Center for giving me the opportunity to play this role as a reviewer of this great work that has been done. And I hope I can share my screen because I have some slides that I want to speak to. Okay, I titled the review, does I say gender imbalance in the newsroom? The review of who leads the newsroom and news. And I say that it's a 90-page research document using empirical data to prove the hypothesis that women are underrepresented in the newsroom and in our news. Now, I use the word hypothesis because when we look around us in the newsroom where we have worked or where we work, we say, well, it's true, we have many women, but then when you get to the cadre of editor, many of them could be line editors, but when you get to the cadre of editor, senior editor, managing editor, or editor-in-chief, the number of women as against men become, lower, smaller, and we know it happens, but then we don't have a clear picture. So what the center has done is to provide us with a clear picture with empirical data that will say, yeah, this is how it is. Now, at times, you just imagine something based on what you see in your environment. So this could be happening, but you cannot, hold on to anything to say, okay, yeah, this is it. In reality. So what this research has done is to tell us that this is what happens in reality. And by the time you go through the document, for those of us who are male, we feel ashamed of what happens in the newsroom. Let's say beyond providing evidence on the lopsidedness, it was a mirror to the face of media owners, media executives, and newsroom leaders, showing an error that needs to be corrected, the mistake of gender imbalance in the news business. Well, I see it as an error. It's my own opinion, because at times when additions are being made, to decide, on who becomes a leader in the newsroom, or who to interview, a newsmaker to interview, we don't deliberately say, okay, let's do gender balance. And so we come up with a newsroom that has the imbalance. So that's why I call it an error. And I say mistake because there are no gender norms in the news business. When you talk about gender norms, you say, what are the rules for male as against the rules for female? For instance, we believe, and I think that is being altered now, that in the house, the women are supposed to cook, and the men are supposed to wait for the food, which may not be the right thing. Or, men are supposed to do some things, women are supposed to do some other things. Men are supposed to climb trees, women are not supposed to climb trees. Now, in the newsroom, we don't have this kind of distinction. All the years I spent in the newsroom, there was nothing a man was supposed to do that I would say a woman was not supposed to do. My first editor, is a woman, or she was a woman, and she was part of the research team, and I learned a whole lot from her. So there's nothing about editing, there's nothing about sourcing stories, there's nothing about page design, there's nothing about editing, taking decisions about what story should be lead and not lead, or whatsoever that a woman.
Yeah.
For men and their role for women. So I think it has been a mistake in the newsroom, that we have this disparity. Now, going through the document, there's a quick summary that I will do here. The preliminary pages provide the aim, objectives, and rationale for the research. They will have the data gathering methods, then analysis of the data, that is a state of gender equity in the media from both members, membership, management staff, and newsmakers. They will have specific areas like print, radio, TV, and digital through online. Then how they fare in the geopolitical zone. So the research attempts to cover, a lot of grounds, leaving no doubt, about their deliberate effort to get to source data that will give us a clear impression of what is happening in the industry. For instance, it's not just about in the newsroom, but management staff, even newsmakers who are featured. We talk about the print, radio, television, and even online platform. All of them, they gather data from 111 of these organizations, and they went to the 6 geopolitical zones. The northwest, the north central, the northeast, southeast, southwest, south. The report cover all these geopolitical zones. So there was a deliberate attempt to be very, very comprehensive, and I think I commend them for that, because some of those who want to be lazy, they say, well, I spoke to 100 persons, and then I think it's representative. 100 persons cannot be representative. There's an attempt to be representative to ensure that they cover all the media platforms that are available. Now, some of the things I found which are quite interesting in the as follows. If you look at women in leadership positions generally, they are only 25.7% as against 74.3%, male and female. Women in leadership roles in print, 95.4 male, 4.6% female, which is too wide. Then women in leadership roles online, 94.8% male, 5.2% female. We're talking about leadership role in radio platforms, 90.8 male, 9.2% female. We're talking about leadership roles in terms of television, 93.5 male, 6.5% female. So you discover that the lopsidedness is too much. So if you were looking at the general outlook, that's the leadership position generally, you would think, oh, okay, 25% is fair. But now, by the time we go to the specific media platforms, it's that it's very, 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 very discouraging. Now those are, the situation in what we call the leadership rules that we discovered from the 11 media organizations across the country. Then other data, if you look at the geopolitical zones, Southwest, where we have more women in leadership roles, the percentage is 31% to 68% male, 31% female, 68.8% male. This is followed by the North Central with 28.5% female and 71.5% male. This trend is manifested in other areas of the news business where there are fewer female anchors and authors, as well as fewer women being featured in the news. Now, there are a lot of reasons why you have more, in the Southwest than in other parts of the country. Maybe because we say the Lagos-Ibadan axis is the headquarters of the media in Nigeria. Maybe that is why. There are other reasons. But then even the 31.2% and to 68.8%, I don't think there is equity there. So it's not like where we should start clapping hands for the Southwest. That is not what we are talking about, even though the numbers are looking better. Now, media and national gender policy. Is it across media platforms? The country's national gender policy 2006, as reviewed in 2021, is promoted by the media, which ironically fails to keep to the tenets of the policy. Now, every now and then we read stories on TV, we watch stories, broadcast on TV, read in the newspapers, there's gender imbalance, the gender disparity in this area, in politics. And in fact, we have written so much about the National Assembly where we don't have enough women representatives. We've written so much about states where almost all the 36 governors are, male. We don't have any deputy governors who are female. And so we have complained about even some geopolitical zones where women don't even feature at all in political positions, or where the feature is only very limited in number. We are the ones writing these stories, but then we now discover that at home, in the media, we are failing. The 2021 to 2026 policy draws from the 2006 National Gender Policy, and the overall objective is to strategically mainstream gender. The government with the gender policy says that gender should be mainstream because both male and female genders are equal. Drawing from the UN Charter on Human Rights, you cannot say because you are male you are better than the female. So the policy says, look, there should be equal opportunities. Even payments, salary should be equal. People should aspire to become whatsoever. And we promote these things on our media platforms only to not implement them, where we are supposed to. So the goal of the policy is to build a just society devoid of discrimination, where the needs and concerns of women, men, girls, and boys are mainstreamed equitably into all sectors of national development. So the next time we decide to write stories about gender imbalance, wherever, we should also know that we are not demonstrating balance even in the newsroom. That is what this report is making us to realize. Then I now say, are men better than women in the media? There are no qualitative evidence to support the gender imbalance in the media. Nigeria has a long list of women who have made impact in both editorial and management roles in the newsroom. And when I was growing up, we read about Amma Organ, who was a very powerful editor, I think, at The Guardian. Then there was this woman, May Ellen Ezekiel, who was very powerful at the Newswatch. And then I think she went ahead to edit or publish one magazine called Quality. Then our own Kadare Ahmed, I don't know whether she's here. She was a powerful editor at the Next. Next was a very a powerful newspaper, investigative publication, colorful and well respected, although it lasted for very few years. Then we have Zainab Okino, who was editor at the Daily Trust, and she did a very good job, gave a good account of herself. We have people like Ginny Abu, even though she has retired from the NTA, she's still around, and you discover that she can hold her own anywhere. If you make her a board chairperson of any media organization, she'll be able to perform, and all this. So there's no way we can say, there's evidence that women can't do maybe leadership roles, perform leadership roles, and so we have all male leadership editors and managers and board members. Then we have fewer female newsmakers. The answer still is no. We don't lack female newsmakers in the country. The ratio of male to female experts in various fields is very, very wide. It's not very wide, but to get female newsmakers to be part of the news, journalists must be persistent, especially in societies where the gender norms prescribe that women must not be seen or even heard, So we must be persistent, because at times women will say, I don't want to be shown on TV. I don't want my face to be in the newspaper. We have to tell them that, look, we are looking for their viewpoints, we're looking for their opinions because they can contribute. But if we if we take the easy route, to say, well, they are not picking our calls, we invited them, they don't want to come, then we may actually continue in the error, because I describe it as an error. There is actually no justification for the imbalance that we see. So contradictions. The situation in the newsroom is very contradictory. In tertiary institutions, many females study mass communication and journalism diplomas and degrees, as many as their male counterparts. in mass communication. In fact, mass communication is a choice course for females. I think Samson started by saying there was a 2017 report, which proved that, look, at the entry point, we have many females, as many as, as men, you know, and I've interviewed, new entrants into journalism, and many female journalists, they perform very, very well, you know, and many of them are even winning awards. You know, even both like local and international awards, they win out because of the good journalism that they, not because of their physics, but because of the good journalism that they do. So we don't have any reason for, saying, oh, we prefer, the females, males to occupy leadership positions. We prefer to interview them. We prefer to give them more positions in the news. Less positions in the newsroom that we give to males. So I call it a kind of contradictions. Then what are the steps forward? Most of them, these are based on the recommendations in the work, which I tend to subscribe to. The research has made several recommendations which are relevant. It's a call on media organizations to be deliberate in ensuring that more women are emphasis here is to be deliberate. Now, when we are talking about promoting people to positions, especially top editorial position, we should not just look around and pick only look for only men. We should look for female as well. You know, okay, who among the females that we have here can do this job? And the Daily Trust, for instance, the job of managing editor is being handled by a woman, and she's doing a good job there. Also, the investigation editor is a lady, you know, and she's doing a very good job. So it's not only males who can become investigative editors or investigation editors, or who can become managing editors. You know, the lady who is managing editor at the Daily Trust, she's doing a very good job. And even every male journalist respects her. Every major, because she knows her job, she knows the job, and she's doing it very well. So we cannot say, well, if you want to manage an editor, give it to a male because you'll be able to shout, be able to command. It's nothing like command. There is knowing what you must do. So if we look at various positions in the newsroom, must be deliberate to say, okay, can we get a female? Deliberately look for a female for positions. I don't see any reason why we cannot say, let's do it ratio, you know, 50-50. If we have a male as an editor, let there be a female as deputy editor. If I have a female as deputy editor, an editor, let's not have a female as deputy editor. So, the recommendations include the full implement gender parity policies. Let's go back to the national gender policy and try to replicate them in the newsroom to say, look, this is what government is saying about gender in Nigeria. Let's implement it in the newsroom as well. Improve representation of women in news reporting. You see, if we are looking for sources to interview, deliberately say, okay, where are the women that we need to talk to on this issue? We don't lack women economists. We don't lack women engineers. We don't lack women educationists. There are women who have done a lot of good work in their fields. So we need to deliberately look for them and say, let's look for women who will also discuss this issue and feature them on our programs. Increase female expert sources, promote gender sensitive reporting. Now, gender sensitive reporting will require that, look, you must ensure that the voice of the female gender, you know, is featured in whatever we are doing. You know, so we don't just begin to say, oh, it's all male. We are looking for somebody from Sokoto State. It's all male. And I think at the point someone was talking about even the commissioner for women affairs being male in the state in Nigeria, it's not acceptable. Then we need to engage stakeholders, engage in a lot of advocacy, celebrate role models. And there are so many female journalists who are doing well in terms of leadership positions in the newsroom, as editors, as management staff, as board members of big media organizations. They are doing a lot of good work. Then capacity building, then mentorship and network. If we need to mentor some women in order to ensure that they acquire the skills, the knowledge needed to play some roles, we have to do so. Then monitor and audit media organizations. Somebody should say, okay, well, we have discovered that sister and media organizations, there are no, female. Well, we must do something about it in terms of advocacy. Then encourage diversity and inclusion training. There has to be a deliberate attempt to train journalists to adhere to the principles of diversity and inclusion. You know, this is, they don't just come on their own. Somebody has to take the lead. Somebody has to say, okay, this must be done, and then they get done. Now, these are my own ideas about what, based on what I have read, some of the things I'm recommending. I think unless qualitative research is conducted to explore why the numbers are lopsided, it will be difficult to solve the problem of gender imbalance in the newsroom. For instance, it is good to know the following. How did the 32% leadership positions in the media climb the ladder? How did they do? What did they do? You know, and then when we know how they climb the ladder, we can say, okay, well, for females, you must know this, and I mean, work towards achieving, or I mean, taking the same steps. What can other women and media organizations learn from them? Why do boards of media organizations appoint more male than female to leadership positions? Now, we just assume that, oh, they are biased, they don't want to appoint a female. But if we talk to some of them and say, okay, why did you choose a male editor instead of a female editor? Now, these are things that can come up with qualitative research. Now, why do editors feature more female newsmakers than more male newsmakers than female newsmakers? You can sit editors and say, ask them, why did you do this? We discovered that you had this interview, you had this report, this feature, this documentary. We saw only, male newsmakers, only male experts spoke. So what happened? Why don't we have female? Then they will tell us why. And then perhaps, by even asking these questions, they will learn their lessons and say, well, I ought to have done, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, these were my reasons. And we can use those reasons to adjust what is happening. Then what kinds of training must women be exposed to in order to qualify for leadership positions in the newsroom? Now, if we know the kind of training, perhaps, while preparing some people to become editors or part of the board of an organization or become a management staff, they may say, okay, you go to Lagos Business School, you go to Pan Atlantic University, go here and go there. Maybe while doing that, the board of organizations may actually be preparing some persons. Say, okay, why don't you send editors for such trainings? If that is what women need to know to find those positions. Why don't you send women to do that? Why must it be only men? Because you can't tell me that to go to Pan Atlantic University to learn media enterprise, it's only men who can do it. So we need to engage in this kind of conversation with them. How do pressures from the roles women play in their homes affect their growth prospects in the newsroom? Is it possible for us to say, okay, maybe some women were even asked to play some roles. They say, no, my husband does not want me to do it. No, I can't combine with my job. I don't want to work late. And all those things. Can we find out whether this, contribute to, what we find out, where we find ourselves in the newsroom? And some of these questions could be answered through other research methods, separate from numerical data. Interviews and focus group discussions could bring out a lot more information that could complement the outcome of this research for the purpose of changing the imbalance in female representation in the newsroom. Now, if you do focus group discussions or gender, or interviews, with some of these actors, we will be able to find out how to improve the situation, because the data makes us to feel guilty, but we need to move away from feeling guilty to find out how, we can change the situation. And that is what I'm recommending. I said, this research should be circulated as widely as possible to media organizations. If possible, it should be shared among decision makers, like the Guild of Corporate Publishers, owners of broadcast organizations, the Nigerian Guild of Editors, the NUJ, and etc. Now, let me be old school here. I will even recommend that should find the time, the money to print the document. For my own experience, we share documents among persons, even the younger people, send to their emails, send to their WhatsApp. It will just be there, they will not read. I remember there was time I was doing some work at the Daily Trust, and I was sharing, these documents among journalists. And I used to print, let's say, I'll print 30 copies and put on my desk, and then share the document among all other journalists, both in Abuja and all the states. I say, look, these are the issues in the papers, these are the recommended solutions to them. And people will come to my desk and look and say, editor, oh, this is very good. I want to have it. I say, it's in your email. Say, hey, I'm not, but I sent it on Monday. You know, so 3 days, 4 days, you have not read it. They will come and pick, from my desk. And then others say, editor, you see this thing, I saw it, so I did a copy. I said, but it's in your email. So what I'm saying is that I want to advocate as an old school journalist, even though I want to be, I also belong to the new world. But if we can print this thing and share among newsmakers, leaders in the newsroom, to be very, very good. Let's share them among UMPAN, among the Broadcasters Association, among Guild of Editors, NUJ. Let them realize that something is actually going wrong in the newsroom. So like every kind of advocacy, the struggle for gender equity in a newsroom should not end with one activity. There must be multiple activities on diverse fronts until the change for equity becomes irresistible. That is where I end the review of the document. And I just hope that nobody will be intimidated. It's 90 pages, 45 pages, a lot of data, so they are easy to comprehend. You don't look at them at a glance. What can be put together in 1,000 words is in a chart or in a table on a map. So you see it and very easy to read and to understand. So don't be intimidated by the number of pages. For those of us who are good at reading, I can read a book of 500 pages in 2 weeks, and it's like, well, it's only like a 10-page document. So don't be scared of the content. Just take time to go through everything. Thank you very much. I had only 15 minutes. I don't know if I overshot my time.
Dr. Abba, thank you so much. No, you didn't overshot your time. Thank you for that very thorough, review. It was quite very engaging. In fact, when you were speaking, especially about one of the findings where you said, when you go to tertiary institutions, you see mass comm students, you find most females in the classes. I just want to allude to that fact that I studied mass communication from the Cross River University of Technology, and we're 189 in the classroom, and out of that 189, we had about 70 that were about 70 to 60 that were males, and the larger number were actually females. And the next set after mine, we had just 20 males in that classroom. So that's actually a gap. And also to add that the role of media is very important, because speaking about gender parity in Nigeria, and the role of leadership, women leadership in Nigeria, there is actually no harm. There's actually no agency that can push the conversation if it's not the media. And like they say, charity absolutely begins at home. So there's so much to be done. And this report is actually like a guiding principle that everyone should find time to read it. And it will really, really help, because we need to change the narrative in the newsroom. We need to change the narrative in the media before we even start the conversations of changing the narrative in the general, politics and in Nigeria as a whole. So thank you so much, Dr. Abba. That was really insightful and very engaging. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Apologies that you can't see my screen. I'm having issues with Zoom. I've been going off and on thinking that it will come up. So really apologies for that. I really hope that next time that you can all get to see my face. Thank you so much for understanding. And then to our dear guests, in case you are just joining us, I just want to remind us that this is the launch of the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism Gender Parity Report. The report was conducted in 2022, and you're all welcome. The report will be shared to everybody. So thank you so much for joining us once again. And also to our very special invited guest, thank you so much. We do hope that you're on this call. At this point, I would like to respectfully recognize the presence of few of our invited guests. All of us are very important to this call, but I would like to give few minutes to few persons to speak. So we have Please, if you're not speaking, can you mute your microphone, please, if you're not speaking? Thank you so much for that. Okay, so we have, at this point, we call on our respected guests to, have their remarks and contributions to that report. We have Amina Salihu. Amina, are you on the call, please?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Okay, thank you. Amina is the Deputy Director of the MacArthur Foundation Africa, where she's responsible for inclusive grant making and communication, programs, idea generation, and networking with the On Nigeria team. Thank you so much for joining us, Amina. Please, you have the floor now.
Many thanks indeed, Madam Moderator. Good morning, dear colleagues, and thank you for this particular honor to say a few words. You'd notice that I have joined by 2 devices because I'm also trying to navigate my data challenges. And I was very glad that I joined as my brother and veteran Theophilus Abba was talking about the report and in the review, and I couldn't agree more with everything he said in terms of agreeing with the recommendations of this very forward-thinking report on who leads the newsrooms and news, and also suggestions is added on a personal level. And as I was listening to my brother Theophilus, it occurred to me that I think we need to send an SOS to the media itself as a system, as an institution, as a structure. And what do I mean by an SOS? They're actually like what? An S and an O and an S in terms of what I want to share in my 3 or so minutes. One is that we need to ensure, and we're seeing it in terms of the findings of this report and what has been said today about the location of the media, that we need to focus on society. Because if the media does not pay attention to the structure of power in society and how people are excluded, especially of a certain gender or of a certain age or a certain ability or disability, or maybe affected by conflict, because these are all matters of inclusion. We're not going to be able to have a media that is responsive enough to the changing ecosystem in terms of, meeting up with responsibility of really speaking truth to power. So that ability to really understand the lay of the land in society is non-negotiable. And so if we have editors who themselves are not developing themselves and they're not able to read, then I think we have a problem. And maybe that is where we need to start from. And I like things that are easy. So I like the suggestion about how do we make it easier for people to want to take up knowledge and to understand what is happening around them and to think differently. The O in my SOS is really about the organizational. We need to pay attention to the kinds of policies and practices that we have within the media organization. And what this report has done for me is really to go behind the scenes to really show us, some of the underbelly of what we didn't even know was happening because we hadn't done research of this nature. And there's something that grabbed my attention on page 32, and I would really want someone to help me clarify it or give me the context. Because I was a bit surprised to find that Channels, and I'm assuming that's Channels Television, had 0 women who were anchors or who were authors. And I was a little bit shocked and taken aback because Channels has won so many awards. Channels is a leading, if you will, media organization that everybody respects. And I thought they were very inclusive. So what is it that is happening in our organizations that we're not mindful of? Sometimes we don't know what to do, yes, but other times is it that we're not intentional enough, to use an expression that my sister Mutura Yolaka likes to use a lot. Are we being intentional? Are we being deliberate? Are we focused? Are we paying attention to the things that matter? Do we even understand the things that matter? Are we doing the maths? How does data play out in our organizations? Because without data, you really can't understand the way the world is or what is shifting. And this report has told us the place of data. My third of my SOS, and that is the last S, is about the self. We cannot change a system, we cannot change a place if we ourselves are not ready to change. And the way we make efforts in our personal lives will matter. The way a journalist, a media leader treats girls, treats their boys, treats the members of their staff, speak up about issues of inclusion would matter. Because if you don't have the personal politics and conviction, it's very difficult to bring about change. When I hear something like gentlemen of the press, I cringe. I cringe because the media is supposed to shape our worldview. They're supposed to be responsive and responsible for molding our outlook in life. And they're not even aware by using that very mundane and very stereotypical expression that the world has already moved on. And like Brenda, our moderator, has said, in their class, it was almost 50-50. And a class that followed her class had even more women. Now, if our language is not conscious of the fact that it is a tool for power, and it can include or exclude, and if that lack of awareness is in the media, then our task to change society's behavior is a long way from even getting to mission accomplished. Because the media is the fourth estate of the realm, or is supposed to be, and they're supposed to mold our worldview. So I would like to ask us, as we look at this report of who leads the newsrooms and news, to think about what the media needs to know more about society, to think about the way organizations are evolving and changing, and to ask ourselves, what do I need to change at an individual and at the level of the self? But I'd like to thank the team that led this report, Women. I'd like to thank the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, one of our very stellar media and journalism cohort members of the MacArthur Foundation. I was super grateful for the work that you continue to do and the honor we have of watching you change the landscape and to continue to show the power of possibility through this report. And I salute some of the grantee partners that I see on the call as well, who are doing more, going the extra mile to ensure that there is greater awareness of how inclusion can look like. I have seen one or two grantee organizations have on their banner a menu for gender. And having that menu for gender tells you that if you clicked on it, you would see what they're trying to do about reporting equitably. And it also reminds them to be sure to report equitably. So having a tool like that on your website, where you have on your main menu something that talks about gender and inclusion, is probably a practical way to be mindful within the organization and to grow the right kind of tools and human infrastructure that we need. But I'm sure we wouldn't give up. We're going to keep trucking and continuing to support each other. So on behalf of the MacArthur Foundation, thank you for your great work, and I wish you more productive deliberations for the rest of the morning into the afternoon. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Amina. Thank you so much, Ma. One of the takeaways from your contribution is, what are we doing in our respective spaces as individuals? That's very important. And I think that all of us on this call should reflect on this. What are we doing in our respective spaces to change the narratives? And then for the media people in the room, we should shift away from the mundane of gentlemen of the press. So when we started, I actually knew that majority of the guests on this call are media persons, and I was very careful with the choice of what of saying, ladies and gentlemen. I honestly, the conversation of gentlemen of the press should shift, and the change begins with us, and the time is now. Thank you so much, Amina, for that very powerful contribution. At this point, we'd like to call on Emeka Ezize. Emeka Ezize is a veteran journalist and former managing director and editor-in-chief at Guardian Newspaper Limited. He's also a founding partner of the Front Foot Media Initiative. Thank you so much. Welcome, Emeka. Please unmute and talk to us.
Thank you very much, moderator, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to just appreciate the work that Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism is doing. I believe that the greatest service of this report is not to tell us that it exists. It is to attempt to draw the attention of people who have somehow tended to ignore what is all too obvious on the ground. Draw the attention back to this particular challenge. It's a challenge in the newsroom. What many of us in the media don't understand, whether you're online or you're in brokers or you're in print, is that when your newsroom doesn't have the color of the rainbow, that newsroom is defective. The best newsrooms in the best media houses all over the world are usually multidisciplinary. They are multi-political tendencies like. So you come in there, you will find people who believe in Marxism and communism, and they're rubbing shoulders with people who believe so stoutly on liberal market and free economy. People tend to know all of these aspects of the rainbow newsroom: multidisciplinary, multi-political tendencies, multi-qualifications, where you have medical doctors who are reporters, you have accountants who are reporters, you have lawyers who are reporters, multi-qualifications, multi-ethnicity, multi-race, multi-experiences, multi-religious, multi-demographic, but they always look away from the fact that is crucial: gender sensitivity. It was such that while I was at The Guardian, we noticed that we were having this challenge. And so we did, talking of being deliberate, we did a deliberate thing. The challenge was that as deputy editor on Sunday, The Guardian on Sunday years ago, I had just like 10 reporters. About 8 of them were women. And they were doing well. Then a woman became editor. I couldn't up till now understand why women don't work well with other women. As soon as the woman became an editor, the ladies started resigning one after the other. And then many of them also started settling at home as mothers. Then they were taking jobs as teachers, that this allowed them to take care of children. The men were working so late. Most of the ladies, while they were single, were working late. The moment they got married, they stopped working late. And even when you concede to it, that they should go home early because they have a family to care for, it doesn't quite help their job. So we noticed that as soon as a woman became editor, and she was working through the night in the office, and she would stay and go home about 2 or 3 a.m. And with the rest of us, the women couldn't do that anymore. So they left. Years later, we found that whenever we advertised to fill vacancies at work, we don't get too many women applying to be reporters. And you're never going to rise to be an editor when you don't know reporting. You have to learn the craft of this job. So we then decided on our own that we have to be deliberate, not talking about editorial deliberate. And I just use that term also. Some media houses are doing that deliberately. And we decided that we're going to have a session of recruitment, and we're not going to recruit a single male journalist. All the people to be recruited must be female, but they must be the very best of female around. And we did it. And I'm glad to tell you that a good number of them are still in the newsroom, rising. I only hope that as they get older and they start having children, that they don't also run away. Our newsrooms must be made to reflect our society. And women form a major part. Actually, Nigeria now, depending on whose statistics you're looking at, we have more women in Nigeria than we have men. So, and anywhere, and again, the moderator, Amina, had said, you go to the mass communication departments and you find more female students than male students. Now, what bothers me is the fact that many don't want to end up in proper newsroom of television stations, newsroom of radio stations, newsroom of newspapers, newsroom of online publications. Many tend to go into other areas. They want to go to the bank. They want to go to government departments. They want to work for parastatals. And some want to go to advertising. The thing now is that advertising is not at its best time. So I wonder where many will go if they're not ready to report stories. We have to go to the universities. We have to go to training institutions. We have to deliberately scout for bright female students that are living and invite them to come and work with us. We have to do something different than just waiting for ladies or young ladies to come into the newsroom and stay there like men. Some men, it takes them over 20 years to become editor. And many women may not want to wait that long. But we have to find ways. I don't believe in quota system, by the way, I don't. And I ensure that in the newspaper, we didn't work by quota. Because if you do quota, you're going to put effectiveness, you're going to put your credibility, you're going to put integrity to question. But we can find very good female journalists when we look for them. Like advertising for only female journalists to apply. We got like close to 100 applications at that time. We ended up taking about less than 10. And for those 10, they have to go through the same rigor of tests that men will go through. And they stuck by it. One or two of them were already married with more than one child. And the others were not married at the time. And even as I talk to you, a good number of them are still in the newsroom. So we have to deliberately go there, get them. Because when you have a newsroom that looks like society, your newspaper gets stronger. The work you do get more respect. There is something about diversity in the newsroom. The first time I had to talk about diversity was 1996 in Philadelphia Inquirer. I mean, Americans were battling with issues of diversity, and yet they were looking for me from Nigeria to come and talk to them about diversity. And I went through all these fine lines and telling them things that I believe could work for them. And it was working for us at The Guardian at the time. So I want
please, you have just 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I want to recommend to the Wole Soyinka Center to take this report deliberately to every media house, not just the editors. Take it to the decision makers. Send a copy to the chairman, the publisher, the chairman of the television. Send it to the editors as well. I also want to recommend that we encourage those ladies in the newsroom by training them much more than we're doing now. Don't leave them to just competition alone. It will work for some, it won't work for others. I think we can do much more to bring them into the newsroom. When they stay there long enough, they will become editors. We had an editor in the Guardian until lately. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emeka. Your point is duly noted. More training opportunities for women in the newsroom. That's really duly noted. Just to share with everyone on this call that a link of the report has been shared on the chat box. So please do check the chat box to download the report. Because of time, we'll just take 2 minutes from our remaining contributors each. Apologies for that. At this point, I would like to call on Juliana Francis. Juliana Francis is the CEO of Youth Lens Initiative Development and Deputy Editor of Eagle Online. She's also the first female to win the Wole Soyinka Center Nigerian Investigative Journalist of the Year as a single entry. Wow, that's really amazing. So Juliana, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Brenda. So I'm actually part of the people that journalists that compiled and got information that leads to this debate of this report, and I'm super proud to be a part of it. So if you look at the report, and from everything that Dr. Theophilus Abba have said, you will see that it's pushing for an increase in representation of women in the newsroom for us to become more inclusive. The report in itself is a reality of what we have been debating for years. of, oh, why don't we have enough women in the newsroom? This is the reality that we'll be debating, that we don't have enough women in leadership positions in the newsroom. We don't even have in the newsroom. The report can become a tool for us to engage media organization, pushing for increase or presence of women in our newsroom. And most importantly, the data can be used now to enrich our reports, to validate stories on gender disparity in our newsroom. It indicates a kind of awakening for us and for media managers. And I think the Guild of Editors should be given a copy of this report too, because they are actually the key people in the media. So women. So let me not repeat what everyone have been saying. Let me just talk about some of the landmine or the problems that we are facing, and I see them as being erroneous. And this is why we, as the reporters, be you female or women, we need to speak out against it. And one of them is that women leaders are usually wicked. They are unfair, that they are unbearable, that you cannot work with them. And so many people have engaged me. In fact, last week, somebody still engaged me on this, that female leaders, they are usually very weak. And I don't think it's right. I think what happens, and it's just a misconception, women, because in the newsroom, we are not too many, and we need to work double hard to actually prove ourselves. So when you have a reporter that is under you, that is a man, you want to be assertive. And in the process of trying to be assertive, you may come out as being aggressive. That doesn't mean that she's wicked. She's just trying to do her job. I've been, as a line editor, if one of my reporters almost beat me up because I was trying to tell him that was not how to do the job. He called me out and was almost bouncing on me, but for intervention of for people. Another erroneous belief is that there are no expert women sources. I don't believe that. There are so many women there for you to speak with. And if, for crying out loud, you cannot get the so-called women expert, you think, in quotes, what stops you from talking to women who have covered a bit for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? In other climes, they do that. So let's start even cultivating ourselves, respecting ourselves as a journalist. We too, we are expert sources. So that we can have women voices in our reports. Then policies, we need to be deliberate. Media organizations, media owners need to be deliberate with the kind of policies they bring out. Policies should be brought out that will push women into leadership position. For example, go to any newsroom in Nigeria, you won't see fresh graduates being put on investigative desks, and that is why when you come for an award, you see people going to social media, they will say, oh, it's only men that are winning the award. Of course, it's only men that are winning the award because it's only men that are writing investigative stories. So when fresh graduates are coming into the newsroom, we should become very deliberate and intentional in fixing them and putting them on investigative desks, on desks that people perceive are for men. Women are actually intelligent people, so they should not be pushed to covering fashion and the chef corner, covering reporting food. They should be given.
Thank you so much.
Hold on. They should be given opportunity to cover other interesting
other bits. Thank you so much.
Bits.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Juliana.
Can I just round up?
Okay, all right. Please, yes, please do quickly. Thank you so much.
Looking at issues of women and girls, let's become very deliberate in writing stories that highlights the challenges of women and girls. And when you are writing the story of a woman, it just doesn't make sense not to get a woman voice. You are talking about a woman who tells the story better than a woman. You will see stories that are reported and it's only men that will interview. Please, let's become intentional about all these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juliana. Let's be very intentional about gender inclusiveness, especially on issues that are pertaining to to women. And it's also very important, like you noted, that we should give opportunities for women to cover other bits like sports, like investigative journalism. But interestingly to know that we have a lot of women who cover sports, but just to engage more. Thank you so much for your point. At this point, I would like to call on Dr. Rukaya Yusuf to make a contribution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah. First, I would like to start by congratulating Wole Soyinka Center for this very, very useful and giant stride in terms of providing data or an updated data on the status of women in newsrooms in Nigeria. I would say that a lot has been said. So many people have said so many things that I had wanted to talk about. But I will still emphasize the issue of graduating more female journalists than males. And surprisingly, in the field, you find more males doing more of the job than maybe women that we find in newsrooms or what have you. I think we need to start understanding the fact that this, as wild as this world is, nobody will create any space for you if you don't create for yourself. So as females or as female journalists, we have to live up to the task. Know that naturally as women, we are expected to do more. If at all we are going to compete favorably, we are expected to do more because naturally we have more responsibilities than the males. And therefore, nobody will just appoint you as an editor if you don't prove your worth. You have to prove your worth, put it in behind your mind that you are a female and you have other responsibilities that a man can never shoulder. So we need to create that niche for ourselves. We need to acquire the educational attainment. We need to have the educational qualification. We need to prove in the newsroom because mostly we complain that we are pushed to softer decks like health, education, female fashion, and home front, and what have you. But we go to the newsroom ourselves with that notion that there are bits that are not even made for females. This is just the truth. Sometimes when females now that are reporting sports, politics, and other more difficult in code, more difficult bits that are being dominated by men earlier, you find that even among females, they are seen as odd. So we need to work on that and have a reorientation on that notion that there are bits that are made for. Just go there as put it at the back of your mind that you can be competitive like any other man, and of course you can rise to the managerial positions in media houses because you can prove that you can do whatever. It is not just in journalism. Wherever you find yourself as a female, you have to prove that you can before anybody will give you a chance. No matter how good, no matter how intelligent, no matter how well you can do this job, if you don't prove it, nobody will know. So it needs to be proved. And I think this report will remain a very, very vital and important reference material for people in the academia and of course people in the field also. And when the reviewer was presenting his report, what caught my attention, one of the things that caught my attention is the issue of the steps forward. Those steps forward were so excellent, so nicely written and presented. But I think we also need to add the issue of females having a strategy or coming up with strategies on how best we think we could start grooming people right from school so that they will come up with a mind that being an editor.
Don't try that again. You are mad. Don't try that again.
Hi, Dayo. Please, can you mute your microphone? Thank you so much. Oh, apologies for that, Rukaya. Apologies. Please continue.
I was thinking.
So that's part of the discussion?
I think we need
no, it was absolutely not part of the discussion. Please, apologies, everyone.
And that needs to be part of our curriculum. We do media and gender as a course. So we need to start developing that mindset in the minds of our students before they even graduate to be journalists. And let me tell you, even in schools, you find out that when you give assignments in news reporting and writing classes, mostly they have to be grouped because of the large number of students. When you give, it's the males that end up doing the assignments. This is right from school. So you find out that it's very difficult, no matter how much you try to convince the ladies to be at the forefront, convince them that, look, you have potentials and you can do this thing even better. Some are just maybe just because they are seeing the men there, they don't just put their best, or they don't just come up to put in their best and to showcase what they can offer. But I tell you, wherever a female journalist takes up the challenge and feels she's going to do, she excels. This is just one thing, she excels. So I think for us to change the narrative, and interestingly, you find out that even aspects of journalism like photojournalism, even up north here, because I was not surprised with the statistics when I saw the disparity in the leadership positions that the females are holding in Southwest and other parts of the country. It's not surprising because of cultural issues, religious issues, and other issues. But interestingly, even up north here, that we have more of the cultural, religious, and other ethnic values that really affect our practice and what have you, you find out that women are really coming out. Today, we have even female journalists.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rukaya. Please just summarize. So, yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Rukaya, for your point. One of the things you mentioned is no one will create any space for you if you do not create for yourself, and you call on the need for women to be more proactive and also position themselves for women leadership. But while this is important, I also want to put it that our policies actually also are there to create opportunities for women. So the gender policy is there to, allow women to occupy leadership positions and other aspects of women leadership and women's health and well-being. But however, it's also very important for women to, get trained and equip themselves to take leadership positions. So thank you so much, Dr. Rukaya. At this point, we'd like to call on Lekon Otufu-Dorin to make his input. Is Leko on the call?
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. I want to add my voice to comment.
Okay, before Lekon speak, just to let us know, apologies that I skipped that. Rukaya is a lecturer at the Department of Information and Media Studies, University of Kano, and Dr. Leko is a veteran journalist, is the Executive Director of Media Career Development Network, Nigeria's premier media career mentoring organization. Leko, please, you have the floor now.
So thank you once again. I want to commend the Wole Soyinka Center for doing this report. Like Dr. Theophilus Abba said, we have a data that we can interrogate. But more importantly, I want to speak to two issues, two of them raised by Mr. Emeka Ezizi. So in terms of one of the reasons why women don't get up in the minds of the old media sector is that they are not available, and sometimes the work is hard. But I want to say that with technology, we need to begin to see how we can demystify newsroom work. So during COVID, for example, many media houses run their organizations even without being in the newsroom. So if we make use of what technology makes possible, we realize that it's not about being present in the newsroom, it's about being able to deliver if there are deliverables. You can be anywhere. So it's possible for a woman to be at home and also do the work that is expected as a media manager. So the point is, let us make, so media management is not about also staying late again. It should not be about staying late, about working to 2 o'clock and whatever. So more media houses need to use what technology makes possible in managing their staff, in holding meetings. If we do that, then we eliminate this point about whether they are available or not. Then the other point about more female in media schools. I think we have a problem on our hands. I also teach in NIG and some other schools, and I discovered that we have a crisis where many people don't want to be journalists. So they are there studying mass comm, but their mind is far from being journalists. So they are not coming back to newsroom. I teach PG students in NIG. There are about 40 or thereabout. Only one is studying print. Even the ones who are doing broadcast are not thinking about news writing. The station manager of the radio station told me that when they conducted an interview recently, Many people apply to be broadcasters, but they were thinking in terms of being OAP. They're not talking about news writing. They're not talking about editing and things like that. So that is a major crisis. And I think part of the problem is that sometimes it's also the way we reinforce old information. So sometimes some of the lecturers will inform this way that there's no money in the media, you can't do this and things like that. So many of them also don't know what has changed. So we need to talk about what has changed, what is available. Ironically, in many schools where they don't even offer mass comm. So I use IFE, for example. IFE has a very vibrant campus journalists association. Many of them who do well are not mass comm students. So maybe we need to become liberal about looking for people who are coming to the media. They don't have to be people who are also studying mass comm alone, like we're already doing. So those points, I think I want to emphasize. And one last point. So it's also part of strategy. So as much as Dr. Abba says it's an error that we need to admit, but it's not deliberate. But we need to be more strategic and provide equity, not necessarily about equality. So if equity means let everybody have a fair chance, let our policy be friendly. Let people don't read meaning. Let me end with this example. So there's a book about the Guardian, the first 10 years of Guardian. So there was this issue about a lady who was waiting to be employed. She was not employed. And when she started sneaking around about why was she not being employed, somebody whispered to her and said like, they imagine that if we employ you and you get married now, you will not stay. And this lady went to the manager and said, please hire me, I won't get married. I mean, that was the height of her trying to break that false impression that was why she was not hired. So again, media houses need to be opened up, and we need to involve, when I hear people talk about let's involve NUG, let's involve Guild of Editors. I know that civil society organizations like WSCIJ try to involve them, but sometimes there's a lot of reluctance. So they need to participate. Even on this call, I'm not seeing sitting editors, people who these things are meant for. Not that they are not invited, but somehow there is a resistance and we need to find a way to break that. So I want to end my contribution with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leko. At a point, I thought you would keep it short and simple, like they said, kiss in the media until you went on and on, but that was really insightful. Thank you so much for sharing your points with us. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we would keep the floor open for more contributions, comments. Please, we will not just speak randomly. If you want to speak, please, can you raise your hand to be recognized? However, we also like to okay, yes, I'm seeing a lot of hands, but before you speak up, we'd like to recognize and also welcome Professor Abigail Ndika, a professor at the Department of Mass Communication, University of Lagos, to make her contributions. You're welcome, Prof. The floor is yours now, Prof.
Thank you, and good afternoon to all of us. Let me join others to congratulate. Am I audible, please?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, Prof.
Let me join others to congratulate WSCIJ Center for another landmark document. The one produced a few years ago, Missing Data, Missing Justice, formed a very useful resource for my topical seminar class in mass communication for postgraduate students. It's also, like Rukayat said, Dr. Aliyu, it's a good resource material. Most of my works in gender, media, and politics, they were offshoot of reports by different organizations, given the fact that most times we don't have funds for researches. So this is a good resource. But I want us to move from talk to action in terms of having the data. So it's not just like any other publication. We have to vigorously push this forward, and policy is the way to go. For instance, the regulators, they will have to give guidelines for running media organizations. So if a guideline says you must have X, Y, there's in leadership position, The word deliberate has been used, intentionality has been used. You have to grow people. By God's grace, I think I've served Guardian for editorial board for about 7 years. And I did 5 years at the defunct Compass. The truth is that I joined, I aligned myself with what Dr. Aliyu said, that it's a lot of hard work. You need to have sleepless nights in any profession for us to multitask and be able to deliver. There is no easy way out. There are no shortcuts to it. And it's part of the training that we have to give to women, the women's group or the female group. The reality is that it's beyond qualification, it's beyond skill. You have to remain resilient and committed, even for those in the academia. I mean, nobody's going to promote you because you're a woman, even if you want women. You must meet the promotional criteria. So we need to begin to tell them on the need to be resilient, the way we socialize them, even from the home. Not to say, oh, this is the job of a man, this is the job of a female, you can't cover this, you can't. So we can really leave the sticky floors where we are the lowest cadre to shattering the glass ceilings. Apart from that, I think that WSCIJ will need to do more engagement with these documents because policy is the way to go. Federal Ministry of Women Affairs must come into this. House Committee on Women, we must engage them. Policy, once we have policy and these things are sold to regulators, we have enough women. Whether you're a man or a woman, there was a time the United Nations had a theme for International Women's Day, a he for she. Your two fordores are the he for she's that we have. So managers in the newsroom should move beyond mentoring to sponsorship. You are going out for assignments, go with them, demystify it, let them know that this is doable, guide them, and they will grow, they will love the job, they will grow. And so we also need to recognize the fact that we need to have mentored some journalists who did stories on that WSCIJ projects. We found out that sexual harassment is a major issue. The reality, ladies, we need to go home with this. There is no profession that you'll be in that you'll not find this. We need to teach them coping mechanisms. Besides that, we also need to make news organizations come up with their sexual harassment policy, their gender policies. I love myself with the fact that you can work with tech, but media organizations should also be made to have crutches. We have a few examples and we can use them as models, that have kept women on the job, doing their job happily. We need to engage media owners beyond just the managers and the professional bodies. And I think that I have survived close to 15 years on editorial board. It's not been a tea party because I'll have to spend the night to do researches to be able to write what to be able to develop the contents that I give. And the fact
Thank
that
you so much, Prof. Please.
Yes, I will wrap up now. The
Prof.
That I just talked about the he for she men, that I want to wrap with that the men on the editorial board are so appreciative. The love they show me, the encouragement they give to me, they've been my staying power on that board. So I think that we can't win this alone by dealing with the women. The men have to really be supportive because they are your wives, they are your daughters, they are your sisters, they are your mothers, and we all have to be deliberate.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, WSCIJ.
Thank you so much, Professor Ndisika. Thank you so much. He for she movement is very important and crucial for every development sector. Thank you so much, Prof. So at this point, I saw Jacob's hand. Jacob, please, you have the floor now.
Okay, thank you very much.
We are still expecting Jacob. Before you just hold on a bit, please, we need more people. We need about 3 persons to speak up. At this point, I'm just seeing only Jacob. If you still want to speak, please do that by raising a hand. Thank you so much. Jacob, please, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Jacob Shagbaos. I'm the head of Department of Mass Communication, NIA University of Nigeria, Abuja. I have a quick one. I appreciate the previous speakers and their responses. The first point is that journalism thrives on interest. It's a matter of interest. Both women and men, it is your interest that pushes you to specialize in an aspect of journalism receive the requisite training, become effective, and then begin to practice. And so I don't see a roadblock. I think that we'll have to emphasize or channel our advocacies from the point of training, which we have been doing. Because if we look at the training facilities for journalism that we have across the country, for instance, right here in Nile, the females are much more than the male, as the case may be, and are doing quite well. Like the male speaker spoke before, the professor was talking about the area of interest and the issue of orientation. We need to look at that carefully. Statistics show that female dominates the training institutions. One has to earn a responsibility. In the newsroom, for instance, one has to earn a responsibility because of the demand of the work. I feel that when we emphasize women representation, I am getting a feeling as if there is a war and a deliberate conspiracy to keep women out of the newsroom. I feel that is not the case. I think it's a matter of interest, and it's a matter of personal development. It's a matter of commitment, and it's a matter of working to end some of these responsibilities. We're open to these conversations, but I feel that we should try to balance the conversation and the emphasis. It shouldn't be sounding as though there is a conspiracy to keep them out, or there's a war of some sort. I feel that both men and females are given the same opportunities and the privileges for the same trainings, and they receive the same training. No special training for male, no special training for females. We understand all this, and the structures that we are applying for training also are quite universal in the sense that they accommodate both gender. And so we should try to be strategic and a bit more deliberate in the emphasis on female representation, not to begin to spike the psyche of practitioners as though there is a conspiracy against women. That's what I needed to push out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Thank you for your points. Your point is duly noted. At this point, I'll call on Constance. Constance, please, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy that we are treating this issue at this level. Let me start by saying, yes, there's a conspiracy. Because I remember when we started, we are now of the old stock. It was actually a stereotype thing. A woman goes to do fashion. But the thing there is that for female journalists, you have to work extra hard. You have to push yourself, develop yourself, so that you show that you can do what others are doing. At a time when I was in Sunray as the weekly editor of Sunray, I was covering that I was doing both fashion stories and politics. And it showed them that there's nothing there. You can do the two. Unfortunately, yes, we have many girls who are interested in mass comm and very few who come into mainstream journalism. But the few, most of them are not dedicated. We need to encourage them to become dedicated. Because if you are dedicated, you will want to push yourself to the highest level. That is what is missing. A lot of people do not want that extra job. And look at technology is changing by the moment. Our girls are not following. We are very behind when it comes to digital matters, especially in connection to news reporting and all that. We need to look at that. We need more training in that area for young female journalists, but also the female journalists who are in leadership positions. You have to take extra time to look out for the younger ones and also encourage them to look out for women, because you find that even where we have women in leadership positions, issues around women are not covered as they should be covered. That is what I would like to contribute here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Constant. Just to say that at the center, we are very time conscious. This is us apologizing and also taking permission from you that please will spend an additional 10 to 15 minutes. Please bear with us. This is not part of our policy. Thank you so much for understanding. At this point, I would like to call on Binta Abubakar. Please, you have the floor, Binta.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. It's been an interesting topic, and I just wanted to share a personal experience. I am almost 26 years now in journalism, And I wouldn't say fully, because I started off in the newsroom. I started off with sports reporting. I was doing all forms of reportage when I started. And some of these issues raised during the discourse about women falling out in between, it's a reality that we cannot overlook, because I have a fair share of that experience. When I started off in the newsroom, my story was that I was schooling and working at the same time. So I needed to
Record.
go back to school. I hope I'm audible enough. Can you hear me?
Yes, very loud and clear. Go ahead, please.
So
But
I
you
needed
have 2 minutes,
2
Binta.
minutes.
Please
I'll
just
wrap
try
it
to
up.
keep it short and
So I
simple.
needed
Yeah,
to go
thank
back
you.
to school then. I needed to go back to school then, and I was in the core newsroom. And I recall that I used to spend nearly the whole day, because we'll go out for reportage, come back, write our reports, and then I'll also take the bulletin. So along the line, I had to make a very hard decision. I took a hard decision. I had to leave the newsroom to allow me to go back to school. So I went back to school.
Did we lost Binta, or is my network?
I think we lost her.
Okay, so thank you. Yeah,
Hello?
Binta.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you still hear me? I thought you were hearing me through. So,
Yeah, we can hear you, but please try to keep it short and simple.
yes,
Thank you so much.
so what I'm trying to say now is that sometimes women find themselves in a very difficult spot. I was there once, and I had the love of being in the newsroom, but I had to move from newsroom to programs department, and that is where I am today. But I still do reporting, at my convenience. I do reporting and I still cast the news. But I had to take that one decision at that time because I wanted to go back to school. Nobody will have me as a half-baked journalist. I hadn't even gone into journalism at that time. So until recent time, before I was able to, do my BSc in journalism, after I had started off as a civil engineer, but my heart was with journalism. And eventually I went.
So I think at this point, we will have to just move on to just call Cynthia. I think her hand has been raised since Binta's network has been giving a lot of issues. So please, very briefly, we have just about 3 minutes, so we'll divide 1.5 between you and Daniel Owoyemi. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to keep it brief because what I wanted to say has been said a lot by members of this wonderful meeting. But just to say what Binta has said, I was in a position where I had to school and do journalism. And thankful for me, my CEO gave me the opportunity to be able to do so. So we can have concessions for women such that they don't have to feel like they have to completely leave the newsroom if they have something other important to do, as long as they can deliver. Then when it comes to policies, I agree with many of these that at the end of the day, it has to absolutely do with policies, because there will be diverse bias in newsroom. There will be diverse opinions of people. There will be, but you will see that once there is a policy, either by the head of media organizations and the like, newsrooms will start having conversation on how they can increase female leadership. They will start monitoring to see if the data is better. But this can absolutely not be done unless there has been a policy around it. So while we continue to have this conversation, and it's good for us to continue to have this conversation, we also need to know that this conversation is important for men to be in it as much as women too. Because if there's anything this report has shown, is that a lot of men still have power in the newsroom, and we have to totally bring them on board so that we all can achieve a well-balanced society. Like earlier, one of the reporters said, one of the presenters talked about newsrooms are going to be more respected. Also, we cannot talk about civil and journalism, democracy, if women who are half of the human being or who are half of the society are not represented. So this goes beyond just because, oh, okay, we need to make room for women or because they are brothers or sisters. But for us to have a well-rounded progressive society, women have to absolutely be brought on board, and policy is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simbiat. Please, Daniel, you have the floor now. Please keep it short and simple. Thank you. Daniel?
Hello, yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank the Wale Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism for putting this together. If we look at, a lot has been shared here, but majorly from experience. I've worked in newsroom as well as the classroom. I've taught journalism for more than 5 years now. But my observation is that it appears more like a funnel. At the introductory part of this funnel, there are more women coming into journalism. The lecturers have attested to this, and even those in the newsroom can attest to this. But it appears there's a disconnect from access into the media workspace and rising to the ladder. Now, rising to the ladder for employers, for decision makers, from observation, they decide leadership of news department based on so many things. It's not just about the professionalism, and you and I would attest to this, that in choosing a leader or choosing who head a particular organization or a team, the best hand in that place, the one who is best in doing the job, may not be the best in keeping the team together. So I said that to say that while we are also looking at defining these problems, part of the recommendation should be that leadership training should be put together for women. You know, in public relations, this bar model, application of the situation, the definition of the problems, we should deploy that method to ensure that there is a deliberate effort to organize training on leadership management for women in journalism. I think if that is done, there's going to be a lot of difference.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you to all our contributors. Your points are duly noted. Thank you so much for staying with us in this conversation. This is just to remind us that attendance form and M&E form have been shared on the chat box. Please do well to fill up the form and then also fill attendance. Thank you so much, everyone, for being an active part of this conversation. It's been very interesting and very engaging, and of course, it's actually been an opportunity to learn, relearn and unlearn. At this point, I would like to call on our executive director, who is no other person than Motorayo Alaka, to give us a final note.
Well, thank you, Brenda.
Welcome, Ma.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brenda. And thank you to our reviewer, Dr. Haba, and all of our panelists and all the contributors. Thank you for your contribution. Just to lay emphasis on the fact that this is our 5th report on this issue. We had done a first report just monitoring, apart from the media monitoring, we had done a report on checking the status of leadership in the newsroom in 2017. We went ahead to do a report on policies and practices on gender in the newsroom, which showed us that a major issue why women cannot stay as leaders of newsroom is society's expectation of what they must do at home. So we have that report, and with these reports, we have engaged media leaders. We have what we call the house to house, which we are still going to do on this particular report, where we go into media organizations and engage the leaders of the newsroom on the realities of not just girls and women issues or report women, but actually on the realities of what they are covering in the news, whether it's oil and gas, it's education, it's electricity, just so that they are conscious of what they're putting on. We realize that news leaders do not have enough time for reflection. They are busy chasing deadlines. They are busy trying to make the business run. So we have taken it upon ourselves to reflect for the news media and to present this reflection so that we can actually force reflection, which is needed for growth, it is needed for sustainability, it is needed for the dynamism that journalism should have. And so on this report, the simple answer, like I always say, is intentionality. Can we look around the room in our boardrooms? Can we look around the room at our management meetings? Can we look around the room at editorial board meetings and actually think about the reality we see in front of us and make a change? it sounds like we're making it simplistic, but it is that way. Make a change, make a decision. If it's an all-male board, make a decision. By 6 months' time, we're going to recruit 2 female board members, and this is what we're looking for. There are competent women out there who can do the work. So the WSCIJ is taking the report around the newsroom, and we hope to circulate it, and we crave your indulgence to circulate it and have conversation in your own circles about it. We are training female leaders. We have trained 84 up to date who are fellows of the Report Women program. We are also putting together a platform of female experts across some sectors that we hope that journalists can use as a base for knowing that there are female who are competent in all sectors. So if you want to interview somebody, because this report is not just about the leadership of the newsrooms, it is also about the leadership of the news. It is about women being put at front pages as lead stories because they do have a voice. We thank the Gates Foundation for its support. We thank all our other funders, the MacArthur Foundation, the Netherlands Embassy that helped us to start the Report Women program. We thank you for your support, and we hope that we all engage in our own little corners. I don't want to repeat all the things that I have to say, but just to end by saying that for journalism, this is a moral and ethical question. So if you are telling the rest of society, like Dr. Haba said, what to do, then what are you doing? Do we have the right to tell politicians minimum 35% affirmation, which is missing because, we can't morally legislate what we are not doing. It's not easy to lead morally when you are not there. So in the last political election phase that came, we'll see that the conversation about women leadership was totally missing. The politicians were not even accountable to us at all about it, and they did not care. Well, the media itself needs to care, to tell others to care. Now, there's also an editorial issue. If we're telling the story, is it okay that we tell half the story or a quarter of the story because we're neglecting, half our population with the leadership of the stories that we tell? And it's also a sustainability and economic issue. We've done analysis on other private roles for media organizations, and most of their audience are male. Most of the people who read them are male because the content is not able to sell across the other gender. So it is a sustainability economic issue that if media organizations look at, they would have the changes. And so again, look around you and intentionally make the change. And our journalism, the story that we tell, the human angle of our stories will come alive as we recognize what humanity and what people represent and society can do. So again, thank you so much. We encourage you to share and spread the report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Edie. Thank you for putting all of this together, and thank you for all the work that you do. And we also want to thank our funders, especially the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, all our stakeholders and all our partners and all attendees of this launch. Thank you so much for staying with us and for being active participants. We do hope that we are going to look into our spaces and begin to lead changes in our spaces. Thank you so much all, and until next time, bye for now.